And we're back with another episode. We have Mr. Blonde Fighter and Blonde Fighter, the still UFC fighter.
Still UFC fighter. New contract. Who dis?
That's me.
How do you feel about it? Everything you hoped for?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm like happy. It's not like I'm not that surprised, but then part of me there was like I was like 90, maybe like 85% sure they were gonna resign me. I don't know. I thought for no doubt they were gonna resign me, and then when they made me fight out my contract, I was a little like, that's weird. And then they don't really give you a new contract until a new fight opportunity comes up. So it's not like, okay, you fight, this is your last contract. The next Monday, they're either renewing your contract or releasing you. I didn't get released.
But they released a bunch of people
Yes.
in a couple different times since then. So
yeah. And then when your contract's up, you need, before you start talking to other organizations, the UFC has to release you. Or
no, before you could sign. I think when you're a free agent, you could talk to whoever you want.
But they have to, the UFC has to like give you permission to talk
really?
to other people. And when we asked that, was denied. So that's kind of was like,
that's good.
I was like, okay, they're not. But they just don't start, maybe it's different for the champs, but they don't start a new contract until like you have a fight booked. And then when you sign the contract for that fight, then they do your contract. So it was kind of like, what's going on? I'm like, well, I don't know. Like I wouldn't have gotten a fight really anyway. So I just kind of had to wait for that to happen. So I was like pretty confident, but not like 100%.
Yeah, it was. Everyone kept asking, like, who did they re-sign you? Who re-signed you? When are you going to fight? Asking so many questions nonstop every time you did anything on social media. And the same with me, too. A lot of people asked me. And then a lot of people like romanticize the idea of free agency.
Yes.
And I think that's correlated to everyone being like anti-UFC fighter pay, and they think it's just better everywhere else. And like Bellator, they're paying millions of dollars, and PFL's millions of dollars, and everyone like romanticizes the idea of free agency. And there are some situations where fighters are getting paid good amount of money in different organizations. I know it worked out for our friend Corey Anderson.
Yes.
But generally speaking, there's not an organization that pays overall as much as the UFC. There's no fighting organization for mixed martial arts that I'm aware of that the fighters get paid at the high end as much as the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
No one's getting paid as much as Conor, Masvidal, Nate Diaz.
I mean, of course, there's certain specific situations. I know, like when Corey Anderson left, he's getting paid a lot more in Bellator than he was in the UFC. But that doesn't mean every fighter that leaves the UFC is it's gonna happen for them. Now, his weight division in Bellator, they pumped up this season. That's basically what Bellator is all about, is that heavyweight tournament, light heavyweight, tournament. So they're, putting all their focus in there. They already have a really big women's flyweight division. They have a couple heavier girls like Cyborg, Kat Zingano. So they don't really they're not like dying for more girls. And I'm sure if I would have went there, I probably would have got paid like close to what maybe even like decent, like to what I'm getting paid to the UFC. Maybe like, probably around the same, maybe a little bit lower, but they're not fighting as often.
I feel like they never fight.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you who the champ is at your weight class.
I don't know.
Flyweight in Bellator.
I know Liz Carmouche is fighting her, but I don't know her
But
name
Liz
is.
Carmouche has been in Bellator for years now, and I think she's fought twice.
Yes.
And she's not like ducking people. She likes to fight.
No, she'll fight anyone.
She'll fight anybody. But yeah, I don't like that everyone like romanticizes the idea of going to a different organization. But I was hoping the whole time that the UFC would just re-sign you, because I hold the UFC to such a high regard, and I didn't want to have to be like, fuck them. I'll never watch them again. And that's how I would have. I watch every single fight and I love the UFC. But if they were like, didn't sign you, I would never watch them again. And that would suck for me, because it's like my favorite thing to do. It would have affected the podcast greatly. We would have had to transition into something else.
Yeah. I mean, part of me is like worried about that, because I know for a fact if they didn't resign me, you would boycott them forever.
I'd never watch
You're
them
just
again.
and I love that about you, that you're just so ride or die for me, and like you you know what I mean. But
and it would just like it everything I believe the UFC is the best of the best and the most elite fighters. If they cut you, who's on a 3-fight win streak, all top 5 fighters in a row, and they cut you, then it's like, well, no, you're not the best of the best. It's
Right.
just like a popularity contest or whatever it is. But I think yours had some underlying issues that weren't attached to you.
Yeah.
Won't get into specifics, but that's why you weren't getting signed right away, I think.
I think so. I think it was kind of like a statement UFC wanted to make, like, you know.
Right.
But wasn't my problem. Don't get me stuck in the middle.
Right. But yeah, I'm super happy about it. I'm so happy for you, and it's just exciting. And this weekend we'll get into it, but like a lot of movement in your weight class. So that flyweight's starting to become pretty hot, I think.
And that's what I've always said since in the beginning, when they started the flyweight division, people are like, oh, it's boring. It's just like the dominant champ, the rest of the division's boring. It was such a new division. I mean, that's exactly how the strawweight was when Johanna was the champ forever, or the bantamweight when it first started. It was Ronda and everyone else. And then you need like a couple years for it to get going. You need people to fight consistently, get out, new people to come in, and all that. That happened in the strawweight, and I always said that with the flyweight. I'm like, you just need more time. It's so new. Like 3 years for a division is nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Now it's been a couple years. New girls are coming in, and you know, new girls are moving their way up, making noise. There's girls from the other weight divisions that were popular there coming in, and then that just mixes everything up. And
yeah, there's starting to become quite a bit of depth in that division.
Yeah,
I think
so too.
And that's why, like, I know sometimes people were saying, oh, well, you could go fight in one of Jake Paul's fights or Triller or Bare Knuckle. And maybe they will pay you, you know, a big sum of money. But that's one time. That's not going to happen again. Like, there's not like a cycle there. That might never, Jake Paul might never host another event again.
Right. I think that,
you know, so the UFC contract is forever. I mean, or not, I mean, you get cut anytime, but it's guaranteed. You know, as long as you do your job, you're going to fight it out. And that's, you know, if you signed a 6-fight deal, that's, you know, 6 of those payments, each of them going up, you know, you have to think of that.
Yeah. A lot of people always, like, you know, like you said, they romanticize the other organizations and, oh, you could get this much for like a boxing match. Maybe. But I think that's for where I am in my career. And I think that that's something, if the UFC were to cut me.
Right.
Then I would be like, hey, if this is one big payday, I'll take it. That's awesome. But the longevity of that, and to like not have the consistency of fighting in the UFC to risk for one payday, it doesn't make sense.
I don't think so.
You know, because I could fight 3 times a year. Now I'm getting paid way more than that one. You know, one fight might be a little bit more for a different organization, but once a year versus like 3 times a year, now I'm making almost like more than double, you know, so it doesn't really make sense. You know, there was like talks about like Triller and like boxing matches, and
but then it's almost like you're like dog fighting. You're just like showing up for some wacky event that you don't care about to just, you know, get a paycheck.
Collect a paycheck.
But if you're in the UFC, there's something to that. Like, it means something. It's something, you know, to be part of.
And it's totally fine to do those other things, but I just don't think I'm at that point in my career. If I was at like where I wasn't getting any better, the UFC cut me, I would say then is when I would do it, but then I probably just wouldn't be fighting anymore.
You just probably wouldn't fight anymore.
So yeah, I'm happy. I got a 6-fight contract and I'm fighting in 7 weeks.
Yeah, fighting we could say it, right?
Yeah.
Amanda Rebus in 7 weeks. She's typically strawweight.
And she's like ranked. She's in the top. I think she's like 8 or 9 at strawweight.
Yeah, she's moving up, but she is tremendously popular. That's what I'm excited about this fight, because people are like, "Oh, well, she's ranked below you." For one, who cares? You'll fight anyone. That's something
better.
That you pride yourself on.
Yes.
But also, she is tremendously popular. I looked her up her Instagram. She's got like 1.6 million followers. She's like a real famous fighter, and anytime there's like you're fighting someone like that, I think it's like good exposure for you. There's
of course
nothing bad could come of something like that.
Yeah, people always say that, oh, I don't want to fight anyone ranked lower than me. I'm like, no, you're afraid to lose to someone ranked lower than you. That's
right.
when I hear that right away, I'm like, no, you're just scared to lose because you're afraid.
Right.
You want to hold on to your number. So you're like, oh, well, if I fight someone higher than me, my number won't go down. But
you are the complete opposite. You
Yeah.
say, just give me a date.
I say, give me the lowest ranked girl, because you would think, I mean, it does not always work out that way. But in theory, if you could fight someone that's like number 15 or number 2, you would think maybe the probability that number 15 is an easier fight and you get paid the same.
There's no easy fights.
No, there isn't. Yeah. But I'm saying the odds are that's probably, but obviously everyone that's a champ was number 15 at one point. So it doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't always make sense. But if I'm getting paid the same to fight someone, you know what I mean? You get paid the same, so I'd rather the lowest person. I don't mind that at all. I love that.
This is a fun fight. This is an exciting, good fight.
Yeah, and
you fought everyone else in the top 10. Now there's some new girls that will be up. So after this fight, then you'd have different opportunities. But this was a perfect fight. I think.
It's interesting to see when someone moves from a different weight division, because when it's the first time you're fighting them, because you can't really compare it, because it could be a fresh start for them. They could fight total like 1,000 times better, or like no one knows. Maybe she had a hard weight cut. You don't know anything, so her style just could go good. But she hasn't fought anyone else that I fought really in the top 10. So like there's nothing to compare it to, which I kind of like. But
yeah, that's what Chael Sonnen always talks about. That he's like, moving up or down a weight class is like a fresh coat of paint. You're like 0 and 0.
Yeah.
Fresh start. But, I don't know if she's permanently moving up or not. But I respect that she took that fight too, because that's a difficult fight.
Yeah. It was funny because then they asked if I wanted it. I was like, yeah. And in my head, I'm like, all right, don't get too excited. I'm like, she's probably going to say no. I'm like, she's not going to fight me. I'm like, even if she wants to, her coaches probably will tell her not to. And they're like, no, she said yes. And right away, I'm like, ew, why did she say yes? She thinks she can beat me? Like, ew. But yeah, it's good. I mean, for her going up, fighting number 2, it's like if she loses, she went up. It's, oh, that's not my weight division. The girl's number 2. There's no shame in that. And then if she wins, it's,
Right. So now you're like 7 weeks out of camp. The camp's going good.
Yeah.
But tomorrow's your first little hiccup in camp.
Oh, yeah.
Jury duty.
And you know how strict I am with my schedule in
so
OCD. Strict. I have jury duty tomorrow.
That's crazy.
I've never done it. I feel like this is like buying a house, getting married, those things, buying like real furniture and kitchen appliances, those stuff didn't make me feel like an adult, but having to do jury duty makes me feel I'm like, wow, that's it. I'm old.
Yeah.
But I have to go. I'm hoping
hopefully they don't pick you.
I'm hoping they don't pick me. And
I think you should just walk in with like a Trump hat.
Yeah.
Like a MAGA hat.
Yeah, I think if I do that, they won't pick me. Like maybe, I don't know. And then usually if I tell them like, because I guess they ask you, they supposedly they like interview you and stuff. So I'm just going to say the most wild stuff just so I don't get picked. I'm going to tell them like, oh, I have a podcast and I talk about every single thing that happens in my life. And then maybe they'll be like, wait, we don't want you talking about this. So I'm hoping. You
just walk in with like a Trump hat, though.
And then I don't have to say anything. Yeah. I don't have to say anything. And then hopefully they won't pick me. So that's my goal tomorrow. And then I just want to get out of there so I can go to training. But I'm not going to get upset if like, this is me telling myself, don't get upset.
I know you might miss a day because people always say like things like that or going to the DMV. Those are like the worst things that could happen, right?
Yeah. And then it was
DMV's kind of like worked its way out of that though. I think a lot of it's like remote now.
Yeah, from COVID,
like
which is nice.
Like, register your car.
Yeah. But yeah.
Jury duty should be remote. Why can't you do it on like
or like
a Skype interview?
Look me up and then figure out if you want. You know what I mean? Like, they know everything about everything you do? Can't they just like look it up and pick you? Like, I don't know, whatever. Hopefully I don't get picked. I'll just go in there all crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of all crazy, we had our little incident that you caught me on the ring this weekend.
I've watched this video 10,000 times and I like cry laughing every time. So
if you don't follow her on Instagram, you don't know, but go ahead. You could tell him.
So yeah, you told me about it on the phone. I like leave Kyle alone at the house for a little bit and he gets into some trouble. But he calls and he's like, oh, some guy was walking his dog and the dog shit on our lawn and the guy didn't pick it up with the bag. So whatever, the long story short, I found the video on the ring of Kyle yelling at the guy. You weren't yelling
Not yelling.
But the thing is with your voice, the way you project your voice and it's very deep, even if you say something like when you're coaching wrestling, I could see the kids being scared of you just because it sounds like you're yelling. Like sometimes even when you coach me in wrestling, I'm like, wait, it took me a little bit to adjust to it. I thought you were yelling at me. And I'm like, no, it's just like your voice. You have which is great when you're in the corner because you can hear you, but you have a very like loud, stern voice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a yellow car, like,
he was across
pretty far.
Yeah.
So I was like, the dog shit. I was just happened to be looking out the window. I was on the phone and then he just walked. He didn't even like, even if he would have just went down and like did a fake pickup, like just acknowledging that that's what you should do, that would have been enough for me.
Yeah.
100%. If he went down, did a fake pickup, but left it, I was like, all right, at least he acknowledges that's what you should do.
Yes.
But this was like, you just walk to my house, let the dog take a shit, then walk back. Like, I mean, I couldn't even, I feel so bad that I said something to him because I'm like, what? I don't want to be like some like psycho old guy that's like,
get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn, asshole.
Yeah.
But if I didn't say something, then it's like now that people could just bring their dog to shit at my house. So I don't know. I don't feel that I did anything wrong, but everyone really got a kick out of that.
I think the way you said it, like
am I the asshole?
Yeah, it's a total.
Am I the asshole for yelling at someone because they let their dog shit my lawn and they didn't pick it up?
And it's the way you didn't like yell at them. You weren't like "fuck you." Blah,
no,
blah, blah.
not at all.
You literally said, "You're like, yo."
I was like, "Get a bag, bro.
Gotta get a bag, bro." That's what makes me cry. Oh my god, so funny. You just saying like, "You gotta get a bag, bro." And then the guy is probably scared. But you said you saw him come back and get.
Yeah, he came back
like 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I've definitely been out and like, because you have the little thing, the little roll of bags on the leash. You don't. There's probably like 100 bags on a thing. So forever you never have to look. And then one time it runs out, you're like, oh,
you gotta feel it going down.
Not really. It's in this little tube. You really don't. And so I've been there where that's happened, but I've gone home and got it. But luckily no one was there. But what you got to do then is like, you have to like, you don't know if someone's in the house looking at you. They probably aren't, but sometimes they are. So what you have to do then is you have to over exaggerate looking in your pockets for a bag. And you have to like, touch your head like, I don't have one.
Right.
You have to like
sell it.
Yes. You have to sell it.
You have to just show that you care. I don't really care if he picks it up, but
so
you need to acknowledge.
Just show like, oh my gosh, I lost a bag. I forgot a bag. I'll be right back. So you almost avoid them coming. If you saw that, you'd probably be like, oh, he's going to come back and get it. Maybe.
But just acknowledging it would have been enough for me. But I couldn't imagine doing that. I guess I could see like not having a bag like we talked about, but you know, I don't want to dwell on dog shit this whole podcast. But
I don't think you were the asshole.
I hope I wasn't out of line.
You weren't. Yeah, you weren't. I didn't think you were an asshole. I just thought you were hilarious. Like in just that whole encounter.
Right.
I appreciate you protecting the house while I'm gone.
Yeah, I have to. So we had the Who's Number One this weekend. Big Flograppling event in, where was that? Dallas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looked like a cool event.
It was really cool. It was super professional with the commentating. I mean, we don't really watch a lot of grappling, but that
watched the most of it.
Yeah, that event was pretty cool to watch. The only thing is, I wish, this is coming from like the fighters, you know, obviously we're not like diehard jiu-jitsu people. I wish it was, instead of 15 minutes matches, I wish it was 10 minutes. It's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe people that are super into jiu-jitsu feel otherwise. But I just wish it was like a little bit shorter, so there's like a little more action in some of the matches, but some of them
well, some of them were really fast submissions, like your teammate or training partner, Sophia. What's her last name? What is Sophia's last name? Sophia Casella.
I've never actually said her last name, and she's like one of my main training partners.
Yeah, Sophia Casella had like a, I think 35-second finish. It was the fastest female submission ever in that. And
I think it was like
event.
The second fastest for any.
Yeah. But it was beautiful. She got in, like inverted it, inside heel hook. I don't know, K-guard, I guess. Was it K-guard? Inversion. Yeah.
She's so good, and she's
It
actually
was
like,
so impressive though.
yeah. I mean, it's funny because it's so impressive, but I'm like not surprised.
Right.
Like, you know, I'm sure other people are like, oh my God, that was crazy. But if anyone that trains with her knows that she's, you know, she's so good.
No, and she trains really hard too. Like I really respect her because like you know, she came to my seminar. I thought that was cool just because she wants to improve her wrestling. She drives from like Jersey to Matt Serra's, like, you know, to work with Jason Rao all the time.
She goes to school full time.
She goes down to work with Tom DeBlas.
Yeah.
She wants to win.
And she goes to college. She's in college and she has a job and she's training all the time. She's like the opposite of like most fighters and jiu-jitsu people that are like, I train so hard, I don't have time to work. It's like, well, I guarantee you're not you're not training as much as her, you're not training as hard as her, and you don't have a job and you're not going to school.
Yeah.
So that's always why I have so much respect for her, not just because of her, she's really good.
She's
like,
really good though.
Her mindset is really good. Me and her like connect a lot on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good training partners. Then the other match that I was into was Micah Galval versus Dante Leon. You know, we're kind of friends with Dante Leon. Now this is where I don't really know that I understand like how to win in an event like that. But I thought that he dominated the entire match. Like he had like maybe legit takedowns and like a couple passes and like looked, I thought, amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's a good win for him. I was certain that he won. But then the judges gave Galval the decision. And I think it was based on he had one very, very tight like triangle armbar situation.
I mean, I thought it was good. I don't know how tight it was.
It was tight.
I mean, I think he even said after that he didn't think he had the armbar. He's like, oh, I didn't really? Yeah. But I mean, it was really good, but it's like one of those things. It's like, okay, he had like the most like dominant part of the of the fight was the armbar, but that was like, so it's like, okay, say 30 seconds, but then 14 minutes and 30 seconds Dante dominated. So to me, I was like, and this is where like
any other rule set, he wins.
Yeah, you, me, and Gregor were all watching it, and we were kind of like, oh yeah, he won. Like not even like I wonder. Oh, we were like, he won, and then I was like, wait, what? That's why I asked like a whole bunch of people that I train with. I'm like, I thought he won.
What did most people say? Maybe I just don't understand it.
No, everyone that I talked to, I don't know if they're like biased, but everyone I talked to thought that Dante won. They thought it was.
Yeah, that was a great match though.
Either way, that was the only match that I was like, okay, if it could be 15 minutes if it's at this pace. Right. If the other ones, I was like, all right, this is boring. But that I could have watched 20 minutes of. So I think that would be kind of cool if they do like a rematch for that one.
Right. But it's funny because whenever there's a 15-minute rule set, the rule set is 15 minutes, submission only. They either go to the judges. In that case, they went to the judges, or they let it be a draw. This weekend, the 1FC, they had some grappling matches, and Andre Galval did a match.
Oh, yeah.
And it was 15 minutes, and he didn't submit the guy. He fought a 1FC fighter.
Okay.
So he didn't submit the guy. 15 minutes, so it was declared a draw. So Andre Galval has been getting a lot of like heat for that. Like, oh, you can't even beat you know, but he won the match. Like he had takedowns.
If there was a judge's decision.
If there was a judge, yes. Any rule set that declares a winner I would say he would have been the winner, but he's getting heat because he tied. Whereas like Robert Deagle made this point on his Instagram, where Andre Galval's last match was against Felipe Pena, the 80cc finals. And it was the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It was 20 minutes. He ended up getting like a takedown at the end. And he was, you know, celebrated, literally carried around the arena as a champion. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Just because you don't submit someone. But in that rule set, they declare you a winner.
Yeah.
Submission only, you know. So that's why I don't really care for submission only, because there needs to be like
more
a set time and like ways to win.
I agree. Otherwise, it's too up in the air too.
Right. I think there should always be some like way to win aside from submission. So you know it's just more exciting. It's just better for my opinion. Then there was Gordon's match. Obviously he completely dominated. It's almost like Gordon's one of my good friends, but it's almost hard to get excited because there's no one that could even compete with him.
Yeah.
There's no one that could compete with him. Like people don't understand. Like the guy he fought is insanely good, like so good. But he looked like,
Yeah.
just, like anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's like, it was almost like after the, right before that match, I was like, oh, okay. It was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch Gordon since it's on. Like,
Right.
obviously we're friends with him, so we like watching him. But it was like the other matches were a little bit more exciting because you were like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen. So you're just like waiting for it to happen.
Now, there's one thing that I noticed though. For Gordon's match, all the other matches were 15 minutes. His, because it was the main event, I guess, was 30 minutes.
I mean, any main event, they usually make longer.
Right. Well, I don't really agree with that, but I feel that they should restructure how they always like play with the rules for Gordon matches.
Mm-hmm.
They should restructure it. It should be like the who's number one challenge. The match is 10 minutes. That's it.
You love making up rules.
Yes, I do. 10 minutes. And if you can survive and not get submitted against Gordon in 10 minutes, you win.
Uh-huh.
If Gordon submits you, he'll win. Because the longer it goes, I mean, it's almost impossible for him to lose. But if it was like a time constraint on it,
That's
would
better.
Pressure Gordon would have to like go, like try to do it. Because now he just like plays with them, like cat and mouse, like just like totally
I feel like
plays
he
with
could just
them.
He's so good that he could just be like, oh, I'm gonna do this. Whatever my next DVD is gonna be, I'm gonna do that. So then it like almost advertises.
Well, that's what he does do.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think like if it was that type of rule set, I mean, it's not like if you were Gordon, you'd be like, well, wait. I mean, not that he would say that, but in his position, you'd be like, oh, that's not fair. But they have to beat me. It's like, because then someone can beat me if I don't submit them. But people know it'd be more entertaining. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you could say, okay, they beat me, but they only because they survived. So it's still like,
well, maybe you wouldn't even, but it's more like the challenge, like the Gordon Ryan challenge. And then that's what the spectacle is based on. Because if you're trying to get someone who's like, oh, he might beat him, it's going to be competitive. That person doesn't exist. But I think if you structured it that way, 10 minutes, and because I would like to see like urgency out of him instead of just like toying with people and going for like a specific move.
Yeah, it would definitely be more entertaining for spectators.
I think so. So maybe they'll listen and take our advice. But either way, it's really impressive that he's just the absolute. Very rare can you definitively say that's the best person.
Yeah.
But the best grappler in the world is Gordon Ryan. It's not debatable.
Yeah.
Not even close.
And doesn't seem like it's gonna change anytime soon.
No, it doesn't. UFC fights.
Yeah, another earlier card. I loved it.
Yeah. So we had your girl Jennifer Maya and Manon Farrow. What'd you think of that match?
I thought it was good. It was the first time I've ever. I think it's the first time I've ever gotten called out. Every time like I watch girls at Flyweight and at the end of their thing, I'm like, ooh, I wonder if they're gonna say my name. I'm like, ooh, I'll be like, shh, let me turn it up, and then no one ever. Usually, girls don't call each other out that often. But yeah, she called me out, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, some people were like, oh man, she called her out. Fuck that girl. I'm always thinking, I was like, well, no, that was amazing. That's like very flattering.
It's
like she
so
thinks
flattering.
of you like, an icon in the division. If I beat her, then I'll get a title shot. Like,
yeah.
I made me like respect her more.
Me too. I loved it. Like people are like, oh, I can't believe she called you out. I'm like, what? Why? I'm at the top. She wants to get to the top, so she has to beat me. I think that's cool that she called me out rather than other girls are just like, I'll fight whoever. I just want to fight for the title.
Right.
They like kind of tiptoe around it. So I think that's awesome. I think that's like badass that she like, obviously if you call someone out, you think you can beat them. So she thinks she can beat me. So like, I think that's cool.
Yeah. But the fight was a good fight. I scored it 29-28. I thought Jennifer Maya won the third round.
Yeah, me too.
Easily. But aside from that, she looked good. She had good like side kicks. I was more impressed with her like scrambling and grappling skills than her striking.
Yeah, it seemed like maybe that kind of surprised Maya a little bit. I think I was more impressed with like, obviously I'm like a harsh critic for any of the girls in my division, but I was more impressed with her before this fight than after this fight.
Yeah.
I think when they showed her, I was
You
expecting.
thought she was like ferocious.
Yeah,
right?
and I've never seen a full fight of her, so maybe that's the issue too. I just seen like her highlights, and even in the UFC, I thought she was like a ferocious, crazy striker that would come forward with like overwhelming pressure, and I'm like, oh, like first of all, she kind of like looked like she gassed out. She got tired, a little tired, and I was like, oh, she's not doesn't do anything that crazy.
She definitely has good side kicks to the legs and stuff. Something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but also like Jennifer Maia is not known for having footwork. She just want to walk
she's short.
forward. She's short. You know, I don't know. For me, it was like obviously, I think I wasn't super impressed. Like obviously, she beat Jennifer Maia, who's if you beat her, you're good. I mean, she was ranked I think number 4 at the time, and she's fought for years. You have to be good to beat her. But so I think obviously she's good, but I wasn't like, oh my god, like super impressed by anything.
Yeah. But the call out, that was pretty cool. Then the UFC, I know that they shared like that soundbite of her
on their
her out.
Instagram, yeah.
And obviously she doesn't really speak much English. She had
a
France,
translator.
But she said the call out was in English. She said, I would like Caitlin Kachayan, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe every single person. Like I was reading the comments because I was like waiting for them to all be hating on you.
Yeah, I said that too. I was like, let me read the comments. I'm like, oh, they're probably all gonna say like Caitlin who? Caitlin's boring. I was like, they're all just gonna trash me because that's usually what everyone does in comments. But they were trashing her and like bullying her so bad. I was
they were making
annoyed.
fun of her accent and like the fact that her English wasn't perfect, like so much. And that's something that's like a huge pet peeve of mine is when people will critique someone's like if English is their second language and people like criticize them for that, like make fun of like how they say things or if they messed up a word. Because if you could like kind of speak 2 languages, you're like way better than
exactly. First of all, too, she had a translator. She could have had the translator say it, but she
was
the translator for the whole thing, and then for the call out, she said it. She wanted to say in English, which is like, first of all, you just got done fighting. It's in a different language that you don't really speak. Like that's so cool. You know,
I thought it was
like
great.
you said, she is speaking a different language, but all the comments were like. And I don't know, you could definitely tell she said my name. I didn't even think anything of it till I read the comment.
I thought it sounded cool.
They're like, who is she talking? I can't even understand her. I was like, the internet is
it's just
trash. Like
it
everyone
really shows how terrible it is.
And it's funny too, because then when I see that, I'm like, okay, when you see something when it's someone else, you're like, well, I can never get upset when people talk about me because they do it to everyone. Doesn't matter who it is. And like, I don't know. It's just so weird, like making fun. Could you imagine like making fun of someone's accent of how they?
I couldn't imagine.
I can't even say her name just because I'm always like,
of course.
I'm like the worst at it, and that's in my, you know what I mean. I can't say things in my language.
Yeah, of course. I saw just recently. I think it was our boy Derek Moneyberg. He posted something that hate is the desired emotion of the underachiever, and that is. So
perfect.
True.
Yeah.
Because there's no successful person or cool person that would make fun of the way someone talks.
Well, in those comments, there's no other like UFC fighters like comment on Instagram and stuff all the time. There was no verified accounts, or not that being verified makes you like, you know, cool or successful, but like no other fighters were like making fun of her. It's all like, you know, no one successful is making fun of how she has an accent when she's calling someone out. When she's just beat number 4 ranked girl in the world and she's calling out number 2 ranked girl in the world with a dominant performance, like that's badass. And you're making fun of how she has an accent. You're such a loser. But if I ever like, I always wonder like because a lot of times it's guys, when like girls, if they were to like catch their boyfriend, like trolling, oh my God, crazy.
So bad.
So weird.
But I think, you know, if I'm playing matchmaker, I would love for, you know, obviously you got to focus on Amanda Ribas, but it'd be fun for after you beat Amanda Ribas, you know, you relax all summer, then you fight her in hopefully like if they do an MSG card this year.
That would be so fun. Yeah. That's perfect. Like May and November is perfect for me. I like to have the summers off. It was funny when I was talking yesterday to my coach, Mark Henry, and I was like, perfect. I got the fight in May. I was like, because I don't fight. He's like, what do you mean you're not going to fight in the summer? I was like, I mean, it's worked out, so I haven't had to like in a while. I think one time I did in the UFC. I'm not really sure. But in the last couple of years, I haven't had to. And he was like, oh, he's like, summer's like your Ramadan where you don't fight. Like all the Russian fighters don't
Yeah,
fight during
exactly.
Ramadan. I'm like, yeah, exactly. They're allowed to have that, and I'm allowed to have the summer.
Yeah. So that would be cool. That's what I hope to happen. But she did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a fun fight.
Yeah.
Then we had Neil Magny and Max Griffin. That was a scrap.
Yeah.
The first round, Griffin almost finished Magny a couple times. He looked amazing. His footwork was really good, real fast punches. But Magny is just someone that he just keeps going and going and going. And if it's 1-1 going into the third, you're probably going to lose.
Yeah, that's very true. And he would do good in like a 5-round fight. He definitely, if anything, he starts a little bit slower.
Yeah.
He just is so experienced and he's so good
just
at
knows
everything.
how to win.
Yeah. I mean, against the cage and his grappling exchanges, I think
his knees.
And he's just has the ability to not like mentally break. Like even if he's losing, he's still like going forward the whole time. And he's definitely a little bit of an awkward style, being like long.
Right.
I've always been a fan of Neil Magny.
Yeah, I've always been a fan too. He tied George St. Pierre for the most wins in the welterweight division.
Mm-hmm.
19 wins. That's crazy.
So crazy.
And then at the end though, he keeps calling out Hazmat Chimaev. And everyone's like, no one wants to fight him. Neil Magny is like begging for that fight and has been for like 2 years.
It's weird too. Everyone knows like he's been begging for that fight, and not just Chimaev, but the UFC will still say, man, no one wants to fight him. And everyone's like, well, Neil Magny has. And it's not like Neil Magny's like,
he's not a nobody.
Exactly. If it was someone that had 2 UFC fights and no one really knew, it'd be like, well, that doesn't make sense. You know, he's there. He's like been headlining fights, you know?
Right.
It's so weird that they just ignore that. I think because they just like to promote Chimaev for the title. They like the narrative of no one wants to fight him. Everyone's scared of him. So they kind of just like.
And that's obviously a tough fight. But the fact is he's trying to fight him,
mm-hmm.
you know? But now I guess if Chimaev beats Gilbert Burns, he's not fighting Magny. But, you know, it's still pretty cool that it keeps calling him out.
It makes me even more of a fan of Neil Magny.
Yeah. Then we had Anskarov. I don't know how to pronounce his first or last name, but versus Kara France.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was an amazing fight.
Yeah.
Both of them are so good. I thought that Anskarov was going to wrestle him and, you know, potentially even choke him. He's really good at taking people down and controlling them. But he did that in the first round. Looked amazing. Almost finished him with rear naked when he was on his back, like the whole round. But Kara France was so tough, fought it off, and then when he swings, every punch he throws is like to knock someone out.
They're so fast too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like that fight.
He looked amazing. That was such a sick fight. But
it was good too to like have another, you know, the men's flyweight division.
Right.
Usually you don't know of anyone besides the, you know,
Figueiredo and Moreno.
Yeah.
That's it. They're going for their 4th fight, but I've seen a few things that suggest Kara France fights Figueiredo instead. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not interested in a 4th fight with those guys.
I mean, I understand why they're doing it.
Not in a row.
Not in a row. Yeah, I don't know. I would just mix it up for like one fight and then go back to it.
Yeah, I think so. Then the fight of the night was Matt Brown and Barberina. You discovered Matt Brown. You're late to the party. You're like, he's good. I'm like, well, he's been in the UFC for 13 years.
I'm like, Matt Brown's my new favorite fighter. I'm like, wow, he's so good. But that's where like I didn't used to like watch UFC back in the day, so I don't hold.
But you were acting like you like discovered like a new talent. This scrappy 41-year-old.
He's on the rise. I don't know. I liked him. I think his fighting was like, I don't know. I was like, wow, he's just so. You're like, that's why they call is it like the immortal one. I'm like, he gets hit, he just keeps going. It doesn't affect him. He can still. And you're like, yeah, it's almost like
immortal.
I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I just discovered. No, I've watched him fight. I don't know. I've liked his fights before, but I don't know. I wasn't like a big like old school UFC girl.
Right. He's not really old school. I mean, he's both. He's, generations.
Mm-hmm.
But he, I think of him as someone who'd be like an amazing MMA coach.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's not something that he would want to do or not, but he's just so good at everything. His wrestling looks amazing. His jiu-jitsu's good. His striking. He did that foot sweep like 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Knees, elbows, boxing. He looks just like great. But we keep talking how great he is, but he lost.
Yeah.
I didn't think he lost.
I didn't either, but it was like one of
so
those
close.
fights that it's like, I thought he won, but you're like, I mean, I get it either way. I wouldn't, it was tough.
Yeah. He's someone like, you'd want to learn from though.
Right.
Just because it's, it's such a
It's funny too though, because I'm like, a lot, like it was a close fight and they're like, yeah, but your stock doesn't go down. That sometimes you lose and it's like, even if you lose, your stock doesn't go down. It's like, yeah, but your paycheck's in half. And then I said that and someone's like, yeah, well, he'll get a bonus. I'm like, that doesn't cover his other.
He definitely gets paid more.
He gets paid more, but even still, even if it's like it should be a bonus. It shouldn't cover what you should have won. If it's a close call. I hate that when someone loses. Not saying this was a bad decision, but when they lose like a close decision and then they get a bonus, like, well, they got a bonus. I'm just like, well, no, it's supposed to be bonus on top of your full fight first.
I think I heard that was the last fight on his contract. I really hope that they re-sign him because, I mean, anytime he fights, it's just like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's really like a killer be killed mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fight. Then we had your girl, Joanne Wood versus Grasso.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think?
I don't know. I wasn't surprised. I didn't know. I thought Wood would have won. I thought she would have. I didn't think Grasso would be able to get her to the ground really, but I think she like caught a kick maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, he went for like a spinning attack.
Oh yeah, she did a spinning attack and then she like body clenched her on the spinning attack. Yeah. I thought like Wood was gonna be bigger, but it just seems like she's getting older. She's just kind of like
she's lost a few in a row now.
Yeah, a few in a row, like kind of like bad losses. She obviously is not very good at jiu-jitsu. She gets submitted a lot, but
yeah, Jennifer Maia submitted her really quick.
Yeah,
even faster, I think.
Yeah, it seems like she just probably isn't that great at jiu-jitsu, but yeah, I mean.
But again, that's another exciting addition to that weight class. Now she's going to be a top 10 fighter, Grasso.
Yeah, I think she might have already was like in the top 10.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I've always liked Grasso. I think she's cute. She's got really good boxing. I thought she was gonna. She seems like a little small, but obviously it doesn't matter. But
no, she's good.
Yeah,
it's exciting to have like another like name person in the division because you want to have like I always say that like at men's lightweight, the 4th and 5th guy, if they fight each other, that's a main event.
Right.
And ideally you'd like that to be in like all the divisions where there's so much depth and everyone's so well known that you could do like main events and co-main events that aren't like championship fights.
Right. And that's the thing. Like now I think the division's kind of getting like that. Like before she signed with me, Amanda Ribas was supposed to fight on this card. She was supposed to fight Michelle Watterson. Michelle Watterson's someone that's like never fought for the title, but she could headline a fight just because she's popular. And like her versus Amanda Ribas is kind of the same thing. Like people were excited for that fight, even though do they think that either one of those, does anyone think either one of those girls can beat Johanna?
Right.
Or like Wei Li? Probably not, but
there's more to just being the champion.
Yes,
right?
They're still excited for that fight. And I think that at the flyweight division now, you're seeing a lot more matchups that people are excited to see that aren't just like whoever's fighting Valentina.
Yeah, definitely. So good win by Grasso. Then we had Curtis Blades versus Chris Daukaus.
Yeah.
I like both fighters. I'm a fan of Curtis Blades, and I kind of know Chris Daukaus from Philadelphia. I've trained with him years ago. He was really young. But, I knew that was a really tough matchup for Daukaus, just because Curtis Blades has the ability to take you down at any time. And granted, he didn't use his wrestling, but I think when you're fighting someone that has that threat of the takedown, it sort of compromises your striking because you have to be thinking, he could hit me with a double leg and put me on my back at any time.
Yes.
So that's why a lot of times you'll see good wrestlers like get like, great knockouts because the person always is sort of thinking about that takedown.
I agree.
But
I think that was just like the next level. That's just kind of like where there's like levels to it. You have to be like totally, even though he didn't use wrestling, I'm just saying you have to be like complete and maybe.
Yeah. But now Daukaus fought, Derek Lewis, then Curtis Blades back to back. That's really tough.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully maybe he drops down a little bit and then gets, could get back on track.
Right.
They don't put him out against like, Cyril Gane next.
Yes, of course.
But they won't now that he has 2 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, really good win for Curtis Blades. Heavyweights fucking tough now.
Yeah.
There's like 5 really, really good guys.
Was it that one? It was a weird call out with he called out Cyril Gahn.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, what do you think next? And he's like, oh, I want to fight Cyril Gahn. Great call out. Boom. And then DC's like, well, there's a guy in the stadium, and he's like, Stipe. And then they show the camera on Stipe. Meanwhile, Stipe's like walking to get a drink. He's not even like paying attention. So it's not like he's sitting there like licking his chops, like, I want this fight.
He already called someone out. You're just dismissing his call out.
And it was a good call out. It was weird. It was like they were forcing it too much. And he was just like, yeah, I'll fight him too. Like,
he just wanted to get Stipe on the screen one more time. I don't know.
Yeah, it was I thought that was a little awkward.
It was definitely kind of odd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that was it for the UFC card. The only other fight that happened over the week was Masvidal and Colby in the streets. Everyone keeps asking, like, we got like fan questions like, oh, what about Masvidal Colby? Masvidal Colby. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so it seems this is probably an unpopular opinion because it seems that since everyone we've talked about this before, everyone hates Colby. I like him. I think he's entertaining and funny. And I don't take what he says super serious. I think it's more just entertainment, so I can put that aside. But and just kind of look at athletic ability and entertainment purposes. So everyone already hates him, and they're like, oh, if he presses charges, like whatever, he said stuff about his, okay, like, well, no matter what, you can't go up to someone in public and sucker punch them. And like couple weeks ago, not like a month ago, wasn't that long ago, you had the opportunity, you had 25 minutes to fight him.
To do anything you want.
You didn't come close to doing anything. Like, you didn't do anything. And now, so it looks like you look like the little kid that's a sore loser and threw a temper tantrum after the race. Like, you didn't beat him, so now you're going to put a hood up and a mask on, hide yourself, go when he's not looking and sucker punch him. Like, to me, that's super lame. And, people are like, he says he runs the streets of Miami. Well, I don't know. Like, how old are you?
Right.
I just seems very immature and childish. And I don't know. I think you should get in trouble for that. And like, people are like saying like they think if Colby presses charges that he's like, that's messed up. Well, no, if I were him, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to sue you for money. Like, you want to come up and like sucker punch me and stuff? He's like, I don't know. I just think it's so stupid.
Yeah, I agree, because I wonder if you had that much animosity towards him. Let's say that Masvidal was able to beat Colby in that fight. So he beat him in the fight, like beat his ass.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would you still go and punch him in the face in the street because of what he said about your kids?
Mm-hmm.
No, you wouldn't, right? It would have been settled in the fight because you won the fight. So everything should have been settled in that fight. You know, if you want another shot at him, win a few fights and get a rematch. But had he lost, had Masvidal won, I don't think that he would have carried on the beef because of what he said to his kids. So then it's okay.
Yeah.
So it's just that he lost and he wanted to sucker punch someone. But, I don't know.
I also don't know what he said about his kids. I don't know if that was before the fight, if this was after, but like also.
That's true. I don't know that.
I don't know that. So that, and you know what I mean? That could definitely change it, but even then I'm like, I don't know, just how old are you? Like you're basically like, you're a celebrity, you're in the public eye. Like you're going up and like sucker, like, don't you have anything better to do on that night? Like hang out with your kids.
But my thoughts on it are this though, really. The reason that happened, in my opinion, this is just, I could be totally off, but it had nothing to really do with the beef. It's more like Masvidal kind of became famous because of what he did to Leon Edwards, that like 3-piece and a soda.
Yeah.
That went so viral. It was like, oh my God, he's crazy. He doesn't care. Just threw down right then. He didn't even hesitate.
No, I didn't know who he was until that.
So then he blew up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then he had, another good win against Nate Diaz. And then since then, he hasn't won in a few years. Mm-hmm. He's 0-3 the last couple of years. So I almost feel that Masvidal was almost trying to recreate that hype. Like, I'm not the guy to fuck with. I'm crazy. 3-piece and a soda.
Yeah, publicity stunt a little.
I mean, because what else is he going to do? Unless he gets fight with like Connor or something.
Yeah.
He's just like in the weight now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he was trying to recreate that buzz or keep that hype around him.
I would have like more respect if I knew that for him, if I knew that that was his motive.
I feel like that had to play some part of it.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I would think otherwise I'm like, I can't really understand
Yeah.
that level of immaturity.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. What else we have? You want to do some trendy topics, you said?
No, there's two things I wanted to ask you, quiz you on and see if you knew about. Do you know about the ick?
No.
Zane, do you know about this?
I think I have an idea about it, but
Okay.
explain.
Like girls on TikTok have been talking about like things that guys do that give them the ick. So it's like an immediate, even if it's just a little thing, like you're really into a guy, you think he's hot, whether you're dating him or not, whatever. And then they do one thing that just gives you the ick and you're immediately turned off. And it could be something silly. Some of them that I've seen girls say like, oh,
this is not really like red flags.
It's not red flag because red flags are kind of like deal breakers. Yeah, this is just like, and this could be something that doesn't make sense, but for whatever reason, it's more of a turn off. Red flags are more like, yo, you shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Like red flags are more like warning signs. This is just like a turn off.
Okay.
And it could be like, something little. I don't know if you've heard this, but basically it started like mostly all girls were saying things that they were just trashing on guys. Like, oh,
like what were some things?
Like when he like has when he's eating and has sauce all over his face, like, ugh.
Yeah,
different, yeah. just random little things like that. I didn't know if you've heard of that. The ick. But now guys are coming back and they're like kind of like, fuck you girls. Like there's things that you do that give us it started off as like all girls being like, they give me the ick, like thinking about, like his mother like yelling at him or something, telling him what to do, or just like anything little.
Can you think of something?
I could say this is like, and I feel bad because this might even be like, I don't know if this is like a genetic thing. When people have like the white.
Ooh.
What? Did you do? Those like white, like those like white dry spitballs in the corner of their mouth.
Yeah.
No. Like if that, no.
Yeah. Yeah, some people just always have that.
Yeah, but I feel like that maybe that's a genetic thing, so I feel bad. But like if you have that, you got to be on point and you got to be wiping your mouth. But those
you got to just always be.
Yeah, you always got. Yeah, you got to be wiping it, licking it, do anything you can. But yeah, that would be like an automatic, because then you could never think about like kissing the person.
Right.
Just those. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
My high school gym teacher always had that.
Ooh, yeah.
So it's funny because like I'm usually pretty good at coming up with things that bother me or something, but this specifically, I feel like, because when I'm thinking of, oh, well, what would gross me out? Like I'm always thinking of our relationship now, because I've been so removed from the relationship, so I have to go back to like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's sort of hard for me, so I can't really think of something. So I'm like, well, what do you do that bothers me? Like there is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of hard for me to come up with something.
I would say like if
I'll think about it.
I think if like a guy had like long fingernails.
Yeah.
Or obviously like dirt. I feel like I can come up
with anything like hygiene, of course, is ick, right? Like,
but specifically like fingernails, like
bad breath, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's almost like, of course.
Yeah.
Right?
I think and then I saw a couple. I can come up with more icks for girls than I can for guys.
Give me one.
I think like for girls with like dirty feet.
Yeah. Well, that's hygiene. I think that's like, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Like dirty feet and then like getting into bed. Like there's girls I'll be like, or guys, people that like walk around and then like outside and then they go to bed and then they go into the bed with like dirty feet. Like that really grosses me out.
Yeah.
Do you have any icks, Zane?
Me?
Yeah.
I think the whole concept of an ick is like,
An ick?
from what I've seen, I don't think people really understand what it means. Like
yeah,
I've
could
seen,
just be anything. Like,
but I've seen icks where it's like, like seeing a guy like jump up and down at like a festival.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. And I'm
like seeing a guy take a selfie.
Yeah, of course.
But like, I feel like if you're at a festival, like most people are jumping up and down.
But I probably wouldn't date a guy that goes to a festival and
or like a guy, like let's just say like A football game, like the Bills Mafia, a guy who jumps off a van and breaks the table.
Yeah.
That's got to be in it.
Yeah.
Or like another one I've seen is like when they sit and use their laptop on their lap. I'm like, how is that?
Why is that?
Exactly, right?
That's why this is things that girls have been doing. And that's why all the guys on TikTok are like coming back. They're like, oh, fuck you. Like, I can't do anything right, you know?
Yeah, I'm having such a hard time thinking of some.
You can think of it next time.
Yeah.
I think it's so stupid.
Yeah. I think it's more for, I think them talking about icks and stuff is something that girls should keep to themselves. It's like, girls, this is for our like girl talk. We don't need to let the guys know about this. Because we don't want the guys to know like how like picky and observant we are. Because then if they do it even like
girls are way more picky and observant. That's probably why I'm having a hard time with this. Because usually I'm like, I could overlook that.
Yeah.
You know, where red flags is a little different. Like that's more like deeper.
Yeah.
Right. My friend listened to
girls
the podcast.
Girls won't want to like, they'll get the ick if a guy is like jumping up and down, but if the guy like only texts them at 2 a.m., they're like, oh, I still kind of like him though. You know what I mean?
Oh, you know what's Nick? I think for me, like when a girl like says period, but unironically.
Period. Yeah. Or if they say like, I saw
period as in punctuation.
No, you know, like I think it's more of like a my generation thing.
You know,
like when a girl agrees with something, she'll be like, period.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like so I'm so much better than Amanda Ribas. Period.
Yeah.
Or
I don't really know that. I haven't heard many people say that.
Like Cardi B says it. She kind of started.
Well, I don't listen to many things.
Or like if someone says it's the something for me, I think that's kind of, but that's more like cringe than the ick. When someone's like, I don't know, it's the gray sweats for me. Or something like that.
Right, I get it. Yeah.
Oh boy, Kyle.
Can you give us an example, Kyle?
Of an ick?
No, like just like try to use one of those like things that we just said in a sentence.
Yeah, either period or
use period in a sentence.
For me.
I don't know.
Come on, try.
Try. It's the what for you, Kyle?
It's the about who?
Anything.
I don't know. I don't put me on the spot.
On the spot.
Yeah, that's hard.
Oh my gosh. Okay, and then do you know what gatekeeping is?
I know gatekeeping in terms of like the fighting. Like this person's a gatekeeper and you have to fight. Like you don't want to get that label. It's then like every up and
you
comer.
are such a bro.
Every up and comer has to fight, you know, this person. If you beat this person, then you're good. Right.
You're such a bro.
Like Kelvin Gastelum, I would describe as now a gatekeeper.
You know what's funny? If you would have like actually if you would have said like the more trendy version of what gatekeeping was and you knew it, I think that would have been an ick for me. But the fact that you don't know that is like why I love you so much.
So
you are literally such a man.
So
and that's why I look up to you.
So what are you saying?
Gatekeeping is like when you don't tell people your secrets, or if you find a new product that's really good, or if someone's like, man, I love your shoes, where'd you get them? And you're like, I don't even know, they were a gift, and you don't tell people, you're gatekeeping it because you don't want other people to like have it or know your you know what I mean? You want to hide stuff from people.
It's what like everyone does in jiu-jitsu. They're like, oh, what was that you just did? They're like, oh, I don't even know.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on gatekeeping?
Most times I think that it's probably not a good thing to do, but I've definitely
done it
like with I'm thinking of one example, and I don't want to like do specifics because I don't want to put anyone.
You can't.
If
do
you
this
have,
you know how much I love the tea, and I need to. Now I'm like,
no, like if you've been like had like a business partner, someone you did business with, and then one of your other friends is like wants to get involved. You're like, oh, put me on with this guy. I want to just ask him a few questions.
Yeah.
Like I've been in positions where like you don't really want to do that because I'm like, well, that's my.
Or you're like, I don't want to get kicked out. Yeah.
I don't want to get.
Well, I think it's a little different if you're like, well, that could potentially push me out of it. That's different.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, so certain things.
If someone's like, your hair looks good, and you're like, oh, I'm not. I just started using this like new shampoo that's so fucking fire, and you're not gonna tell a girl that. That's different.
Oh, that's ridiculous though, because I don't at all do that. Like, oh, why do you make your steak so good? I'm like, oh, this sous vide, and I show them. or like products, I actually like telling my friends about like things that I use.
Me too.
I pitch like the things I'm really passionate about. I pitch all the time.
Or anytime someone like, this doesn't happen a lot, but strangers, because I've done this. This is my biggest part with the gatekeeping. If I see a girl in public and they have like a jacket on, I'm like, oh my God, I love that jacket. They're like, thanks.
Yeah.
Bitch, tell me where the fuck you got it from. Send me the link in the bath. We're in the bathroom. Send me the link. Tell me what size. Is it true to size? Tell me what you think about it. Don't say thanks and then walk away. Because that's the only reason why I really said I like it. One is to compliment you, but two, I want that too.
Right.
And if someone ever says to me like, oh, I like your shoes. I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm like, they were actually only like $30. I got them here, blah, blah, blah. Cause that's based. And then someone's like, oh, thank you. Oh my God. Cause sometimes people are afraid to ask.
Right. Like, so I don't really think of things. I don't have a lot of like interactions like that.
Your interactions are just with the people whose dogs are shitting in our yard.
Yeah. But I think of things in terms of like, when it sounds like when I mentioned that business example, because the fear of, well, maybe I'll get replaced or I'll get cut out. Like that's like a reasonable fear, I think. So sometimes you could like hesitate to gatekeep, whatever. But I'm not necessarily like, I don't want other people to succeed. Like if I had like information like, oh, this stock is going to blow up or something like that, where it doesn't matter if you and I want everyone to cash in.
Right.
But something where there's a possibility of you getting like left out of something or like,
well, you need to,
because there's value in your hookup. Like your, you don't want to get cut out.
Right. I think like if it comes to like anything where it's like supporting could affect like how you support your family and stuff, that's a little different. But I mean, just as far if it's just simply like little stuff, or like you said, someone's like in jiu-jitsu, like, can you show me that move? Dude, if you're not gonna show them the move, like,
oh, that stuff's ridiculous. I can only think of the one situation where I guess
that's a little bit more serious.
But even then, I in that situation I didn't, and it pretty much worked out.
Yeah.
But I remember having reservations.
Yeah. But you wouldn't gatekeep any of your like.
No, and I love my friends. I want them all to do well.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else, Zane?
Yeah, I've got some stuff.
Go ahead.
But we're like an hour into the podcast. You want to do it now?
No,
or?
let's go.
All right.
We're popping right now.
We're gonna talk about your favorite boy today.
My favorite boy?
Your favorite boy, Elon Musk.
Oh.
I love Elon.
I like him. Yeah. What about him?
So I went on like a TikTok binge last night after trying to edit our steak video that's coming out very soon.
Yeah, we're gonna start putting out cooking content. If you guys are into that, let us know.
So let me pull this up. So
I like that Elon Musk has his kids train jiu-jitsu.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes you like him more.
Yeah.
So this is like a theory, because nothing's been confirmed yet. But Elon Musk's current wife, Grimes, are you guys familiar with Reddit?
Yeah.
I mean,
Reddit.
I know what Reddit is,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So there's this theory that Grimes had like a throwaway Reddit account where she would post things about her relationship and the problems she was having during her relationship.
This is right up my alley.
Everything like makes sense, just like from like how old they are, like when the pregnancy was happening, how difficult the pregnancy was. Grimes like notably had a very difficult pregnancy. Even other things like this like account posted about surrogacy, and like Grimes and Elon for their second child had a surrogate come in to have the baby.
Okay.
Surrogates are so trendy right now.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I just want to read this post. I mean, I'm gonna like spark notes it basically because it's very long.
Yeah.
But it's basically about like Elon gaslighting Grimes into like basically like cutting her mom out of her life.
Okay.
After her pregnancy. She said that I'm gonna have to cut that out. So during Grimes' pregnancy, she had a very difficult pregnancy. She had HG. I have the definition here. Hyperemesis gravidarum.
Okay.
It's like extremely bad, like nausea and vomiting.
Oh yeah.
And according to this post, her husband, who we're just gonna say is Elon for now, was not down with this. Like he did not care. he was like, whatever, like you still have to do everything yourself. I don't really care.
I feel like that's kind of common sometimes.
Yeah. But like he would go like talk shit about her to his friends on
Mhm.
like when they were like during like on Discord, how like she was lazy and useless and she gave birth, and that it was just her job to suck it up and just continue living and dealing with the children. He would post on like men's rights websites about.
But you're speculating that it was him, right? Or
We're speculating, but I mean everything lines up very well,
Okay.
very conveniently.
Okay.
Mhm.
He was like writing on men's right websites about like his personal situation and like how his wife, like her head had like been filled with like feminist garbage from her mom, and like Grimes is like basically getting fed up with all this and like went to go talk to her mom about it, about like why she hasn't been talking to him, and Grimes' mom forwarded her a conversation of basically Elon saying that she would never be able to talk to her daughter again. Her daughter being
Okay.
Grimes.
Yeah.
And that basically explained like why they haven't talked in so long.
Okay.
So Grimes is basically gaslit into thinking that her mom never wanted to talk to her.
Right.
But really it was just Elon manipulating both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we don't know
So-
that it's them.
But we
Yeah.
don't know, but everything lines up a little too convenient.
here's my
I
thing.
really wouldn't. I mean, you could just comment, but I don't believe anything unless I'm like certain. Like just circumstantial stuff
Mhm.
doesn't.
Well-
I would never like think that it was.
I think that
him.
once you go down like the Reddit rabbit hole too, I think that the type of people that are like so obsessed that are going into it, reading it, are the type of people that are capable of fabricating this and being like, let me make this account so people think it's Grimes. I think that those people are so smart that
Yeah,
they can do that and
I
not,
agree
and
with
they're
you.
like, oh, everything adds up. These people are like, you know what I mean? Just as hard as these people investigate and like research and try to find like a hole in it, there's someone else that's like, their goal is to like
Right.
fuck with everyone and be like, let me try to like start this.
Well, that was like the whole like QAnon thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
The same
yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
Some people are, it sounded like there was someone actually like in the government who was, like, but it was just some loser who had a
Yeah.
lot of time on his hands. I would correlate this to something like that. Like
the ultimate, like just like
some loser
catfish
just trying to
type
Yeah.
of thing.
fuck with you.
It's hot on TikTok right now, which is why I wanted to bring
I
it
mean,
up.
am I gonna like smoke a joint and watch all of these videos tonight? Yes. But do I think it's true? No. But I'll know all the information within 2 hours of a TikTok rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think it's probably like one of those like QAnon types.
It's a fun fantasy.
Fun fantasy.
Yeah. But I like Elon.
Of course.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe Grimes' mom's a bitch.
Her name is Grimes.
That's weird.
That's her stage name. Yeah.
gosh.
But they did name their baby something like
They're
It was
really
like
weird.
X3, 4, right?
yeah. And it's pronounced really weird. I don't even know. Her real name is Claire.
Claire.
Claire Elise Boucher.
All right.
All
Yeah.
right.
We're
Anything
fans
else?
of Elon, so we don't really don't support this
We had
narrative.
like a fan question
Oh,
Oh.
go.
about the Flograppling subscription model.
Mm-hmm.
What about it?
So this comes from Manny's.sketchpad. I was wondering Kyle and Caitlin's take on Flow Wrestling only offering a yearly subscription and no monthly membership, whether it pushes people away from following the sport or not. I've heard different opinions, most of them being it's not worth following the sport, and other people like Burroughs saying you have to invest to grow the sport you love, etc. Also, even with the membership, it's tough to follow when dual meets are on different channels or school websites, things like that. I just got Rudis Plus the other day to watch a super match, and I think more events like that would really help to grow the sport more than anything. Thoughts?
I have Flow Grappling. I didn't know that you couldn't do it per month.
You don't even know
I-
what
I-
subscriptions you have.
I just
You're
signed
the
up for
worst
the year.
person to ask.
But I didn't know that you couldn't. But I mean, I don't know. There's not a lot of things that you could just pay month to month. Like most houses, apartments don't go month to month. Most things.
You mean you're
do-
locked in for like a year?
Most things have like a locked in for a year.
I mean,
So
I try to.
I don't know if they ask you to pay up front or do they?
For Flow Grappling
Yeah.
or wrestling, yeah.
Oh, you pay for the year
Yeah,
up front.
yeah.
You pay for the year up front.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I like paying for the year up front anyway. Most most things.
I mean,
do.
most things are like that. Like, or even if it's not a full year, like I tried to like sign up for Pilates like a couple months ago, and they're like, okay, well, it's a 3 month. I'm like, no, I just want to do it for a month, and they're like, no, it's at least 3 months. I was like, oh, well, I'm not doing it. But if I really wanted to do it, then I probably would have been like, oh, this is nice. Like, you just,
Right.
I don't know. But for that, I don't know if you don't do it. I like when it's like a year because then it's like,
You
all
don't
right,
even think about
you're
it.
gonna pay. You're gonna pay for it, and then when an event comes up and you want to watch it, it's just more
Right.
convenient. But I could see where a lot of people would be like, I think if you do the monthly membership, people are more apt to buy it because they're like, oh, it's $3, whatever. But when you see it like, you
Right.
know, $50, it's like, well, I'm not paying $50 to watch who's number one.
Mhm.
But really, like, the whole point is to watch everything.
I know that Flograppling gets a lot of heat. People always talk about like, you know, content and, you know, the price of things. I am on the page like just like how I feel about the UFC. Like if the price goes up for pay-per-views, I'm gladly buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't talk shit about what they pay fighters. I'm just the ultimate UFC like dick rider, I guess. I feel very similar to Flograppling and Flow Wrestling. What they've done in like 15 years for grappling and wrestling is just like you can't even imagine it. Like when I was wrestling, there's no footage of wrestling. There's nothing. Like you were never, you know, on, you know, there wasn't even.
You don't have
barely
like
the
any
internet.
like you have no like
You can't watch my old matches, but Flow Wrestling, Flow Grappling, you could watch everything that ever happened.
And they put out really good documentaries.
They put out amazing documentaries, and they promote people, and like these guys are now like, you know, basically like celebrities, you know, some of them, the guys they promote. So what they've done is so amazing that I'd gladly pay for the membership, and I think like the world of that organization, which, you know, they have nothing to do with us, but I'm just a fan. I think it's incredible everything they do.
It just looks a lot more legit, even like, you know, watching the Who's Number One, that event and how it was run and the commentating and just the angle shots and everything. It looked like a legit thing. When you watch other ones, it's just kind of like people, you can hear like the commentators when their mics off, like kind of talking between that, which is fine because if you really like, you have to really love jiu-jitsu to watch. You're not watching.
It looks like a home movie.
Yeah, you're not. You're just like, oh, if someone just puts their iPhone up and it's a live stream, I'll watch it because I want to watch the match and see what happens. I think like for jiu-jitsu, it's the diehard fans, the people that want to watch it are going to watch it no matter what the quality is. But to make it get the sport to the next level where you get people that are more interested in it, you need, you know, flow that's going to put more into it. And it obviously costs money.
Because there's other organizations like MMA organizations that I just don't watch. I can't watch because of how poor their product is. And I think Flow Wrestling is, you know, it's not as great as the UFC, but for grappling and wrestling, it's pretty fucking good. Well worth the year investment, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think, Zane? Do you have a subscription?
I mean,
just leech
most
off
people
my girlfriend.
don't. Most
She
people,
has one?
She has one.
Oh, wow.
most people have someone else that has one.
No, but the
No,
Flow
Flow,
Grappling,
you
you can't watch at the same time. If
From two computers.
Yeah, because I've had people ask me for mine. I'll be like, well, I'm watching it, man.
Yeah, yeah. You can
Pony
watch
up.
it. Yeah, exactly.
You come over.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know. That's we're pro Flow.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else?
That's about it for today.
All right.
That was good. One thing I'm very happy about, we picked up the most subscribers we ever did in 1 week since our last one. Very excited about that. So please continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.
Thank you guys. Cooking content is coming out. People have been asking us about that stuff, recipes, and just different things that we like to cook. So we're going to be putting some of that out. Let us know what you guys think of it.
Take
Okay.
care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.